Right, this is my personal trainer app, which is my final project for the front-end course. And this is my repository on GitHub. And here you can view the live site, which is deployed on GitHub Pages. The customer page. And on the customer page, there's many useful things that we can do. So for instance, I created a global filter, which can filter any form of parameter that we want. For instance, if we want to find this person, we can just write Davidson and then you, or we can even filter by the phone number. Another thing that we can do, that's one of the most important things, is that we can add a customer. So I will quickly do it. All right, so I have added the user and you can see it instantly shows up in the table that we have. So another thing that I can do is that I can edit the user. For example, I can change the name and I can say test. There you go. And then the name instantly changes. As I also can delete easily and the name is gone. Well, I will choose Layla and I can add a training for her. And we can say that she will go for rock climbing. And we can give her this amount of stuff and we can easily change the day. So we can give her September 9th and we can make it be at 5 o'clock. And we save the training. We can go here to the sidebar and then we can move to the trainings. So let's check rock climbing. It was Layla. So if I do this, let's click export CSV and then we can have the trainings already and we save it. You can see we have all of the trainings saved over here. Right, the next thing that we can find from the sidebar is the calendar. And the calendars have the monthly, weekly. You can scroll down and you can have the day as well. And of course, one of the most important thing is the agenda. Then we can move on to the final page, which is the statistics. Over here, I implemented a bar and pie and a lines chart in V-charts, using V-charts. So for instance, we can set the start date as today and then the end date, we can make it on the 25th of December. And we can see all of the trainings. You can also see it in pie. These are all the, and when you hover over them, you can see exactly what training is that. And then per minute, you can see how much of the day they will be spending on it on the exact day. And of course, we can always download the SFV, and this is the activities in minutes, which is specific to this statistic. So now let's jump into the source code. I will try to explain some of the challenges that I have faced. So one of the first challenges that I faced is the CSV. I wanted to make it reliable and not just like, dump data. And I wanted the user to get exactly what they're asking for or like what they can see on the screen. Now, also to keep the app more reliable, I used here the use memo for filtering. And this was actually a really great addition because it made sure that my filtering logic was working and it checked multiple customer fields. And it only runs when the search bar actually changes and not every single key press. And this was a really good performance addition here. Another thing to do with the CSV generation itself, I ran into two main issues. The first one, I fixed by using the double quote in the wrap. So I implemented manually created a quote escaping to prevent the fields with commas or quotes from breaking the CSV structure. So if it gets inputs that have any of these, it just removes it and it doesn't break away. And then the second thing, which is the UTF-8, it basically forces Microsoft Excel, for example, to correctly read special characters. So the entire data doesn't turn unreadable. And finally here, to trigger the download reliably across all types of browsers, I had to, I can't just create a link. What I did was I took the the anchor element, and I appended it to the document body. So when you click on it, and then it instantly guarantees that the download will start in any like single page application. So this was also very useful. Now, another thing that I thought was a nice addition is to validate the form. And how I solved this was I used very strict validation logic. So I used the duration invalid, activity invalid, and date invalid. So all of these made sure that the handle safe training function is heavily guarded, and by the use of these like booleans. Now coming to the calendars page, I have, as I said earlier, I've implemented the React big calendar. And then let's talk about some of the challenges. When I first implemented the calendar, like the toolbar navigation kept like freezing and glitching. So whenever I tried to like switch months or views, and then I realized that the component had to be like fully controlled. That means like I had to like explicitly like manage, the current view and the current date in my React state. So for example, here, I used the calendars on view and on navigate props to update the state, and then it kind of like re-renders the calendar correctly. It also makes like the whole like experience more smooth and improves the performance in general. Another interesting challenge that I had was I realized that there was a lot of data and it took some time to like render. So to make it more efficient, I kind of used in the events array, I kind of like limited the made the default into 30 minutes over here. And then also I added a simple performance filter to pull events to only last 12 months, and this kept the entire component to load much quicker. Well, for the statistics, I didn't face a lot of challenges. But I could say that making them synchronized was one of my main technical issue. So I had multiple components. As you remember here, I had the bar, pi, and the line. So I had to make sure they're always synchronized. And also like another challenge was that I had to make sure that you get special CSVs for each one of these. So my solution was to create like a memoized single data set, and it's like the one source of truth, and it calculates based on the user's filters, and every like component reads from the single source. So one last challenge worth mentioning in my code was something related to mapping. So the grid component needs every single row to have a unique stable ID property. So the API uses the HAL links. And now to fix this like API level requirement, I wrote this small like function over here, which basically what it does, it extracts the ID, and then it starts like by splitting the over here, like for example, it starts by splitting the URL and taking the last segment basically. And then I explicitly inject this like clean or like this stable ID property into the data object before it gets passed to the data grid all over again. And then I think without this, mapping feature, like the row selection, it would kind of, break some of the components that I had integrated. So I think this, I really had to work with making this function. It's quite a nice addition. But then this is all for my demonstration, and thank you.